Let's look at another specific example of the difficulties one runs into when you try to do incentivizing policies with a command-based approach. Okay, so it relates to the light bulb switching, which Al Gore talked about a lot, if you remember, the inconvenient truth, and then he has been doing various other things, but he was probably the first one to raise that as some kind of a public debate, I suppose. So here is the light bulb technology. This is the old style incandescent, which loses, I think, maybe 60% of the energy as heat and per lumen of light produced. The three-way two filament bulb, which was more efficient, hybrid halogen CFL compact fluorescent light bulb, the compact fluorescent, which became very popular at some point as very efficient and cost. It was fairly cheap as well compared to some of these and lasted pretty long. And of course the LEDs, the light emitting diodes, which have now become among the most efficient. Okay, in terms of how much light they produce per watt of energy and how long they last, and I think sometimes they're very expensive. Okay, the example in the book is about the various types of light bulb usages, like in the refrigerator, not easy to replace, in medical rooms, maybe sports stadiums, or many specific or specialty places where it's not easy. It's not easy to replace light bulb in the refrigerator, and it's not cost effective to replace the refrigerator just for the bulb, right? So many exceptions were written to make the light bulb command based policy. But a market-based policy like a carbon tax could be done without a lengthy list of exceptions, and motivate manufacturers and buyers to reduce carbon and their electricity bills. So this is a replacement of I think a refrigerator light with this LEDs with this special attachment here. You can see these little LEDs mounted on this big connector of the old type. So the exception also has to include burning out the existing bulbs and then trying to switch them, maybe requiring retrofitting. Then cost effectiveness becomes a problem or a serious consideration, especially if you have to redo lots of electric wiring in the house. So personal and individual acts begin to be a problem in terms of accommodating all. So that's a quick example. So carbon tax, as you can imagine by now, is the most favored argument by many of the economists. This was a letter written to Wall Street Journal in January of 2019, signed by 300 economists, which included people who served in the government, Nobel laureates, academicians, I think maybe World Bank, and so on and so forth. Let's just read through them. Global climate change is a serious problem, calling for immediate national action. Guided by sound economic principles, we are united in the following policy recommendations. So this is the 300 people who signed it. A carbon tax offers the most cost-effective lever to reduce carbon emissions at the scale and speed that's necessary. By correcting a well-known market failure, a carbon tax will send a powerful price signal that harnesses the invisible hand of marketplace to steer economic actors towards a low-carbon future. That's where we want to head. Low-carbon future and maybe a zero-carbon future. Carbon tax should increase every year until emissions reduction goals are met, and be revenue neutral to avoid debates over the size of the government. So increased taxes, increased tax revenues distort the economy, as we said before, but also immediately becomes an argument about how the government is spending it, why government should have it, etc. But if you make it revenue neutral, then there are many ways to do that, as we will see. So a consistently rising carbon price will encourage technological innovation and large-scale infrastructure development. It will also accelerate the diffusion of carbon-efficient goods and services. Okay? Keeping in mind in the back of your mind that it doesn't guarantee equitability and that the vulnerable will be protected automatically by market forces, which is already proven over and over and over again. Okay? Sufficiently robust and gradually rising carbon tax will replace the need for various carbon regulations that are less efficient, like command-based policies. We'll see another example with the fuel economy standards. Substituting a price signal for cumbersome regulations will promote economic growth and provide the regulatory certainty companies need for a long-term investment in clean energy alternatives. So you can see that it's a heavily tilted group towards market forces, which many people immediately cringe at. Okay, to prevent carbon leakage and to protect U.S. competitiveness, a broader carbon adjustment system should be established. Misspelling there by me. This system should enhance the competitiveness of American firms that are more energy efficient than their global competitors. That's obviously maybe hinting at certain countries like India and China. It would also create an incentive for other nations to adopt similar carbon pricing, maybe. To maximize the fairness and political viability of a rising carbon tax, all revenue should be returned directly to U.S. citizens through equal lump sum rebates. This we will see a little bit more. If you collect revenues, differentiated revenues based on your carbon footprint, and you distribute the revenues as equal lump sum rebates, then you will create some effects that are not intended. Unintended consequences are always important, right? The majority of American families, including the most vulnerable, will benefit financially by receiving more in carbon dividends than they pay in increased energy prices. So if you collect revenues and distribute them in equal lump sum rebates, then you would end up returning more to the vulnerable families or low-income families. So unlike command-based regulation, the incentive is also uniform across all actions. So you don't need a long list of activities and exceptions in each case. Saving a ton of carbon by turning down an air conditioner is rewarded exactly the same as saving a ton of carbon through buying more efficient cars, lighting, any other activity that emits greenhouse gases. So it goes through all products, all activities, so cost effectiveness is automatic in that sense. It would take a near infinite number of command-based regulations plus an implausibly large enforcement effort to monitor people's everyday actions. When you drive to work, do you stop by the store or do you come back home and drive again, and so on and so forth. Okay, so variability in emissions is caused by carbon tax because the electricity demand may be high when it's hot. People might not care about carbon tax and just emit more, or when the weather is nice they may turn it down and reduce emissions. So there is uncertainty in emissions when you have carbon tax, but the idea is that because emission is happening everywhere and accumulates, these local variations are not that a big deal to worry about, whereas incentives can be variable when you have a command-based policy, as we will see. And incentive variability can be kind of hard to control, as we will see with the emission trading systems or cap and trade systems. Okay, so incentive variability can be expensive for the economy. Emission variability is not too bad. Okay, those are kind of the points. We will revisit some of these, but I hope you are getting the idea that this is on a mission to prove why carbon tax is the best tool to use. But let's keep in mind that not everybody agrees with that, and maybe it's not the only tool that can solve the problem, that you will need other tools as well.